Let me show you how to flip and fold your way to a stunning floral cushion. It's simpler than you think, and I'll guide you through every step. Next, place batting 1 on top of the hoop and stitch it down. Afterward, remove the hoop from your machine and trim the batting about 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching. Now stitch the place and line for the center background. Place fabric A right side up on top of the hoop, covering the placement line, and stitch it down. Remove from the hoop and trim the fabric about 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching. Are you enjoying the process so far? Our Keeping It Simple Sew-Along community is also making these cushions too. Join the Facebook group, the link in the description below, to share your progress and get inspired by other makers. Repeat the applique process with the inner side triangle, top left, using fabric B. Then trim, leaving the fabric in the seams. Afterward, repeat the applique process with the inner side triangle, bottom right, using fabric C. Next, using the left stitching line on fabric B as a placement line, place fabric D on top of the hoop, wrong side up, covering over the placement line 1/4 inch with the excess pointing towards the bottom right of the hoop. Stitch it down, then fold it over, hold taut, and stitch it down. Using the bottom stitching line of fabric C, repeat the flip and fold process for the outer side triangle, bottom right, with fabric E. Repeat the applique process with lower triangle 1 using fabric F. Next, using the right stitching line of fabric F, repeat the flip and fold process for lower triangle 2 using fabric G. Then using the right stitching line of fabric G, repeat the flip and fold process for lower triangle 3 using fabric H. Similarly, using the right stitching line of fabric H, repeat the flip and fold process for lower triangle 4 using fabric I. Continue by repeating the applique process with the small triangle bottom left using fabric J. And embroider the satin stitch onto the small triangle. Next, repeat the applique process with the twin triangles, top right, using fabric K. and embroider the quilting on the twin triangles. Then repeat the applique process with the diamond top right using fabric L. And embroider the satin stitch around the fabrics. Finally, embroider the floral design using the diagram here. And once you've completed the stitch out of the embroidery, remove the block from the hoop and trim the seams to about 1/2 inch. Hold it aside until all your blocks are made. You're doing fantastic. If you haven't already, head over to our January Keeping It Simple Sew Along group on Facebook. It's the perfect place to connect with fellow creators and show off your work. I hope you're enjoying this tutorial so far. I will now show you the process of joining your blocks together. Start by laying out your blocks on a flat surface to decide on your layout. Here are 2 examples of different layouts, and this is the one we'll be using. Begin by joining the blocks in rows. Place the first 2 blocks right sides together. Pin along one edge, making sure the seams line up as best you can. It's helpful to start by pinning the corners first to ensure they align accurately. You can also add a few pins along the seam to prevent any shifting while stitching. Take the blocks to your sewing machine and stitch the side seam. For a clean finish, stitch just inside the border that's already stitched on the blocks. This way, your stitching will be hidden on the right side of the quilt. After stitching, carefully press the seams open. Continue this process until all your horizontal rows are joined. Next, join the horizontal rows to each other. Place the first 2 rows right sides together. Pin along one edge, ensuring the seams and corner points are aligned. For the best results, use a few extra pins to hold everything in place. Then continue stitching just inside the previously stitched border so the seam remains invisible on the right side. Once stitched, carefully press the seams open, just as you did with the rows. Pressing the seams flat ensures your quilt lies nice and flat when finished. Awesome work for getting this far. We will now work on adding the borders. To begin adding the borders, the first step is to decide on the width of your borders. For this project, we used a border that's 2.5 inches wide. This width is ideal because it creates a nice frame around the cushion without overwhelming the design. You can adjust the width to suit your preference or size of your cushion. Once you've decided on your width, it's time to measure your cushion. It's best to measure one side through the center, as this gives a more accurate and average measurement. This will help ensure the symmetry of the border. After measuring, use this number to cut the length of your border fabric. Cut 2 strips of border fabric to match the length you just measured for the cushion. You'll also need 2 pieces of batting to match the length of these fabric strips. For a secure bond, spray temporary adhesive lightly onto the batting, then place the fabric right side up onto the batting. This will fold the fabric in place as you sew. Next, place the cushion on top of the fabric with the batting attached, right sides together. Pin the fabric to the cushion along the edges. Be sure to pin the corners first to ensure they are aligned properly. Once everything is pinned, take the cushion to your sewing machine and stitch along with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's important to stitch on the wrong side of the fabric so that the stitching won't show on the front of the cushion. After stitching, carefully trim the batting from the seam allowance to reduce bulk. Now fold the border over and press it neatly into place. If you'd like a cleaner, more professional finish, you can edge stitch the border down to secure it flat. If needed, trim the borders to ensure they are even all the way around the cushion. Repeat this process for the other 2 sides of the cushion. Measure the new side edge, including the width of the first border, and cut 2 strips of border fabric end to match the new length. Then cut 2 matching pieces of batting. Again, apply the adhesive and follow the same steps to pin. Stitch, trim, and press the borders like before. By following these simple steps, you'll create a polished and professional looking cushion with neatly added borders. Love how your cushion is coming together. All the tools and supplies I'm using, like the premium stabilisers and thread, are available at swpa.com. Trust me, quality materials make all the difference. Let's start by preparing the backing for our cushion. First, grab your measuring tape and measure the width of your joined cushion front. Now measure 4 inches above the center seam. Using these two measurements, cut 2 pieces of fabric O. These will form the back of your cushion and give us a nice overlap for an envelope style closure. Next, take 1 piece of fabric O along one of the long edges. Fold the fabric over about 1/2 inch with the wrong sides together. Give it a good press with your iron to hold that fold in place. Then fold it over again, another 1/2 inch, and press it once more. Now repeat the same process with the other piece of fabric O. Once both pieces are folded and pressed, stitch along the folded edge of each piece. This step will secure the fold and create a clean, polished hem for your cushion backing. Adding the backing to the cushion. Now that your backing pieces are ready, it's time to attach them to the cushion front. Lay your cushion front down with the right sides facing up. Take 1 piece of fabric O and place it wrong side up on top of the cushion front. The folded edge should sit just above the center of the cushion, about 2.5 inches or 6.5 centimeters. Make sure the fabric covers the sides of the cushion, then pin it in place to keep everything secure. Next, grab your ruler or measuring tape again. Measure 4 inches or 10 centimeters in from the folded edge of your first backing piece. Use a fabric marker or chalk to draw a line across the cushion. This will be your guide for the second backing piece. Now take the second piece of fabric O and place it on the opposite side of the cushion, wrong side up. Align the folded edge of this piece with the line you just marked. You'll notice the 2 backing pieces overlap, creating that envelope style closure we're going for. Once it's positioned correctly, pin it in place. Finally, turn the entire cushion over so the wrong side of the blocks is facing up. The backing pieces should stay put, thanks to the pins. Then stitch all the way around the cushion using a 1/4 inch or 6mm seam. This step secures the backing and cushion front together. Let's move on to adding the front lining now. This step will bring everything together beautifully, so grab your materials and let's get started. First, place fabric B, your front lining, right side up on your work surface. Then take the cushion and place it on top, with the wrong side of the blocks facing up. This ensures everything lines up perfectly. Pin them together, but make sure to leave a 4 to 9 inch gap, 10 to 23 centimeters for turning the cushion later on. Now, stitch all the way around from the back of the borders. staying just outside your previous envelope backing stitch. Be sure to leave the gap we mentioned. This will allow you to turn everything right sides out later. Once stitched, it's time to trim. Trim the seams of your cushion to 1/4 inch, 6mm, to remove any excess fabric. This will help the edges lie flat and keep things neat. At the opening, leave about 1/2 inch, 12.5mm, to make finishing easier. And don't forget to clip the corners. This will ensure sharp, crisp corners for when you turn the cushion right side out. Next, turn the cushion through the opening you left earlier. You can use a chopstick or your pink thang to help gently push out the corners. Press everything flat with your iron to set the shape. Now, let's close up that opening. You can either hand stitch it for a clean finish or use a bit of fabric glue if you're short on time. Once the opening is closed, turn the cushion out again through the envelope created by the 2 backing pieces. You'll need to use your chopstick or pink thing again once more to push out those corners. Give everything a final press to smooth out any wrinkles. You can now optionally add a closure to the back of your cushion. We use cam snaps for ours by measuring along the seam, deciding how many snaps we needed and distributing them evenly before attaching them securely with our cam snap tool. Now it's time to insert your cushion insert or stuff it with stuffing. Fluff the cushion to your liking and your cushion is ready to enjoy. Wow, just look at that gorgeous cushion you've made. You're an absolute legend for sticking with me to the end. Don't forget to enter your project into our monthly competition for a chance to win some fantastic prizes. Thank you all for stitching along with me today, and I'll see you next time.